Good morning, everyone. Good midday if you're on the East Coast. This is Lennie Larkin coming to you from the Gardener's Workshop. I love filling in for Lisa on these lives. It's really fun for me. I would do anything that Lisa asks of me, really, or anyone at the Gardener's Workshop. What an incredible opportunity. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. All right, I see you guys jumping on here. And if you are coming in later and watching the replay, that's great too. That's how I catch a lot of these lives. So welcome. Here we are. It is a Wednesday. I'm coming to you from just outside of Portland, Oregon on my tiny flower farm. We moved it up here from California a few years ago. And I'll introduce myself for those of you that I haven't met and tell you a little bit about me and who I am and what I do. In the meantime, you guys can get ready to start asking me questions. I'll be here for half an hour to answer anything you want to ask me. I specialize in flower farm business stuff. So I've been farming since 2013, I believe. And then over the past 5 years have really been working more and more with flower farmers. And now I've just started saying out loud that I'm a full-time flower farm business coach. So I teach online courses. We have one with the Gardener's Workshop that I really love. It's sort of a short course on how to start looking at your farm so that you can make more money, and keep farming for longer, right? So that's this awesome course that we developed together that is available on demand with the Gardener's Workshop. I also teach Flower Farming Business Academy through my own business, and that's a way more in-depth course about how to build the business end of the farm, because most of us love plants, right? We know how to grow plants, or at least we learn pretty quickly, but then the business stuff we have less experience in. That was the case for me, and that's the case for most of my students. It's like sales, marketing. I didn't get into being a flower farmer to do that stuff, but of course, to keep our businesses running, we have to become experts at all that business stuff. So that's what I do in my business, Flower Farming for Profit. I also have B-Side Farm. So I kind of, one of my students recently referred to my sessions as business therapy. And I was like, you know what, that's what it is. So I help people figure out where they're struggling on their flower farm, how they can make the right decision for them by evaluating the options and the information they have at the time, and then making the best choices. So that might be whether to take on a new sales channel or whether to perfect the ones you currently have and do a better job. How to figure out if you're making money or losing money. What crops are doing better for you than others? What customers are better for you than others? When is it time to hire help? When is it time to throw in the towel? When is it time to take on weddings? All that sort of stuff. And more, I teach marketing and mindset. I sort of hate the word mindset, but there you have it, because I find that we get in our own ways a lot of the time, right? Flower farming is such a hard profession. There's so many little battles to fight, so many hills to climb, but we also keep ourselves down sometimes by getting stuck and overwhelmed, by kind of shutting down when we have so many skills to learn all at once. So I really want to help people get more confident to build their businesses. All right, I'm happy to take any questions you guys have. You can put them in the little question bubble here. I see there's one, which is great. You're welcome to ask me anything about the business side of flower farming, about Mother's Day. Right now I'm teaching a Mother's Day boot camp, so I am deep in Mother's Day planning, both how to get the word out there for your flowers, especially how to get the word out there if you haven't really done that yet in your business, how to get confident and how to actually reach people in your community who might want flowers. So feel free to chat about Mother's Day, about how to do better in your business, how to determine which crops are working for you and which ones aren't, which sales channels are working for you and which ones aren't, and how to get more confident and strategic in marketing so that you can find people who need the flowers that you have. So feel free to ask me any questions that you think I might be able to help with. All right, we have one here. Let's see. Okay, forgive me, you guys. I'm a little clunky with this live stuff. I haven't done one in a while. So Sarah says, hi, it's my first year starting a self-serve flower stand. You can also ask me questions about farm stands, you guys, or flower stands. I'll take any advice from marketing for growing my target audience. Ooh, I love that. Okay, so this is something that I just wrote down in my training for my Mother's Day boot camp, and it's an image that has helped me thinking about how to market my own flowers, and it is something that I think is going to be really helpful to my students, so I'm going to share it with you, Sarah. So, and I encountered this when I moved my farm to Oregon. We moved up here 2 years ago. I didn't know anyone to sell my flowers to. I knew some flower farmers, which has been great for morale and great for all parts of my life, but it wasn't helpful in terms of finding people to sell my flowers to on the retail side, right? So I was up here, moved up to Oregon, and I'm like, how am I going to let people know that my farm is now here, that we exist? How am I going to find new customers? I was basically thrown back to square one and like was able to walk in my students' shoes for a little while, because now I'm essentially a new farm after being a like seasoned professional flower farmer for so long, right? So it's kind of a funny situation. And this is what I imagine. Like there was a city of people who I just knew would want my flowers if only they learned about me, right? And so this is an image that I'm conjuring for my students in my Mother's Day boot camp, and also just like in life, and with you, Sarah, planning your farm stand, and any of you watching. Picture a busy town center, right? For some reason, I'm picturing the one in Gilmore Girls. Saturday morning, it's like a movie set. It's a movie set. There's people walking around with coffee. There's people having brunch dates. There's people out jogging. There's people out like doing their business, right? So there we are in the middle of the town square in Gilmore Girls. I don't even know the name of the town because it's actually not a show. It's not like my show. So I don't know why this is my example. I should get more details if I want to say this again. But you are standing in the middle of that town square trying to let people know about you and your farm and your flowers, because they would love you and they would love your flowers and they would come knocking down your door if only they learned about you, and then they learned who you are and who your farm is, so that they created kind of an emotional connection with you, and then if they knew how to buy from you. So this challenge of getting the word about your flowers, about your farm stand, is just about how to reach these people around you, right? And this is where I think we can throw a lot of kind of old marketing advice out the window, and we can think, these are just humans, and we're just a human, and we need to connect with these people on a human level and let them know about these great ways that their lives are going to improve if only they become customers of ours, right? So for a farm stand, I want you first of all just to start talking about the farm stand anywhere you go, anytime. Drop it into conversation. This is not you being salesy or pushy. This is you talking about beautiful flowers. And I'm sure you guys find this, just like I find this. Once someone finds out that I'm a flower farmer, they love talking about flowers. It's all they want to talk about, right? So you're not being pushy by dropping your farm stand into any conversation. I want you also to take specific chunks of time, maybe it's once a week, maybe it's once a month, and get out of your comfort zone and start getting out there into the community, telling people about your flowers. It's great to have something to hand people, so a postcard is a great option. Usually you can always fit postcards in whatever bag you're carrying. If you make it pretty, maybe you can make a beautiful image on one side and have some good information on the back side with like a QR code so that people can follow up with you, they can get on your email list. Speaking of email lists, right, when you guys know the term lead magnet, so this is where you give people something in exchange for them giving you your email address. Incentivize them to take this postcard, follow along with a QR code or a link to join your email list, and maybe their first bouquet is half off with you, right? You can always provide them something else like a guide or a download, but honestly, for our industry, I think that this is a good place to use a discount. And I don't usually recommend discounting your flowers, but to get a retail customer in the door for the first time, I think a discount is wonderful. So you're out there in the community. Maybe you have a goal every time you go run errands. Maybe you have a goal of connecting with five people, 5 human beings, right? And it feels crazy. It feels hard. You see like a group of women walking, or someone walking alone, or someone with their kid, and you say, hey, I just wanted to give this to you. We have a new farm stand in town. You can follow the QR code to get 50% off your first bouquet with us. I'm just trying to connect with more people in the community. It can be that simple, right? And it feels horrible. It feels awkward. It feels like, do other people do this? But it's what you have to do. And I think of this as sort of like guerrilla marketing these days. It seems really simple and really common sense, like, oh, just go talk to people about your flowers. But you'd be shocked. Well, you're probably not shocked because you know this. This is scary. And so we don't do this. We kind of like sit back and fret and spend time on social media, trying to reach people on social media, which works sometimes and doesn't other times, right? There's great ways to be strategic about it to get it to work better for you. But just getting out there and connecting with people, you don't need a long elevator pitch. You need the vibe of like, I'm just going to hand this to you. I'm a friendly person and then I'm going to walk away. I'm not going to follow you to your car. I'm just letting you know. I'm just handing you this, right? So you can have the goal of connecting with 5 new people every week. Maybe out of those 5, maybe 1 will become a customer of yours. And I like to encourage new farmers or people with new farm stands to really think about how many customers you actually need for your business. Probably it's not like thousands of customers. Maybe it's 100 customers this first year. Maybe it's 500 customers. So you can imagine connecting with 5 new people every week is going to really make a dent in that. And if you can use some visual accountability tricks, even better. Maybe you have a spreadsheet and every week when you connect with those 5 people, you fill in a line that says, talk to 5 people in the Whole Foods parking lot or the Target parking lot or the town center of Gilmore Girls, whatever it is, right? Like, so just think of this image of you standing in the middle of this town square, just needing all these people to learn about you. And that now every time you go out into the world, just picture that. Because it's really hard when we're sitting back here behind our screens or we're out in our farms, out in our field weeding. It's really hard to have this sense that there's a whole world of people out there, and only if they only knew about you, they would become customers. They would help support your business, right? So it's just connecting with humans. I think there's so many modern marketing strategies and a lot of them work, and I use a lot of them, right? I'm running ads for my courses. I'm doing all sorts of stuff. But this like personal connection is where it's at for our flower farm. So I want to encourage people to sort of go back to basics. And with the farm stand as well, I can't say enough about signs on the road, not just signs leading up to your farm stand, but signs further away from your farm stand, maybe at like the biggest street that's close by so that people know take your next right 1 mile ahead, fresh flowers. All right, let's look at some more questions here. All right, so we have, how many hours a week does the business side take compared to the farm work? Ooh, such a good question. I'm going to try to be concise here because I can imagine going on about this for like an hour. We don't have that. So I think that most flower farmers that I work with and my colleagues in the industry and me as well, like my path, has been that we spend way more time on the growing side of things than on the business side of things. So once I started focusing on the business side of things in my farm is where I started making more money. I probably cut my work. I'm not going to say I cut my work hours in half, but I cut them considerably. Maybe I cut them by 25% or something. I started doing more with less. I started working less. I started being able to analyze the numbers in my business because I learned how to, and I learned how to track what I was doing, and I learned how to, what am I trying to say? Learned how to measure what was happening in my business. So most of us don't spend enough time on the sales, the marketing, the numbers. For my students, I really encourage people to start setting a dedicated time each week where they can be working on marketing in particular. There's all sorts of other business stuff, right, besides marketing. But marketing and sales is so important. And for brand new farmers, for most brand new farmers, your biggest struggle is getting enough customers, right? Once you've been in business for a few years, your struggles change. You might have built an audience, a customer base, and then your challenges become keeping more money, right? You're making lots of money in that you're selling lots of flowers, but your expenses and your labor is like just as high as your sales. So you're not actually making money. So it becomes hard to stay in business. It becomes hard to keep pushing through when you start entering some sort of burnout phase once you've been at it for a few years, right? So your challenges change throughout the years, but in the beginning, when you are just trying to get more eyeballs on your business and get more people who are willing to buy your flowers, you need to be spending time on it every week. And this doesn't mean spending 3 hours browsing social media and then stressing over an Instagram post. This means strategically choosing a few ways to get the word out about your flowers and going out and doing it every week. One could be what we just talked about, right? Like going to the Target parking lot. Another could be spending some time on social media, making an Instagram reel. We know that with all of the social media out there these days, probably the best way of getting new eyeballs on your farm are Instagram reels. And that's because these reels are shown to not just our audience, but a wide audience on Instagram. That's the way reels work these days. Like if they show the reel to a small group of people, and if the reel performs well with that group of people, they show it to more and more people. That's why the emphasis is on reels these days. And they don't need to be fancy. They don't need to be highly edited like what we saw when reels first came out. They can be short. They can be you picking flowers with a little bit of text. It can be a funny joke. It can be something funny that happened to you today. It can be something interesting about a flower. You're always trying to either kind of educate or entertain or inspire, right? You're building trust with your audience, and you're creating some curiosity or something like visually appealing, either with some moving visuals or a hook in the way of a little bit of a story that leaves people wanting more, right? So these are the kind of reels that do well, and this is how we can kind of grow our audience on Instagram. So what I'm saying is that when you take this time each week to work on marketing, I recommend at a minimum an hour. Really, I think we'd be better if we spent like half a day a week on this stuff. But if you're just getting started and it feels hard to carve out enough time to even be weeding your field, you can carve out an hour a week and say, what are the marketing things I'm going to be doing this week? I'm going to try to create, maybe is it 2 reels this week? And I'm going to try to get in front of 10 new people in real life. And I'm going to try to get 10 new people on my email list. So you can set a goal for yourself each week. And then you'll work backwards from the goal to see how you can accomplish it, right? Creating the reels gets quicker the more you practice it. Going out and talking to people in person gets easier the more you do it. And getting people on your email list, you can try a few different strategies, right? You should be aiming to always be getting people off of social media and onto your email list. So that can be with Instagram, that can be with Facebook, that can be with Threads or Pinterest or wherever else you are online, wherever else your customers are online. So every week, just remind people to jump on your email list, share a link in a story, whatever it is, right? I'll see if there's any more questions here. So basically, the question was, how much time should we be spending on the business side of things versus the growing side of things? My answer wouldn't sit well with any of you. I mean, if I said it was half and half, that would sound crazy to a lot of people. So I'm just going to say I want you to start carving out time each week to be looking at your marketing and, if possible, to be looking at your numbers. Are your sales matching up with your sales goals? Yes or no? And the first question there to be able to even dive into that is, what are your sales goals? Have you set sales goals? So you can see why goal setting is so important, because it's a way to check in with yourself throughout the year. Otherwise, you're just sort of winging it. Okay, I see a few questions about pinching and growing. I'm going to leave those for Lisa to answer next time, so I can really lean into my, they say zone of genius, right? I'm not going to say zone of genius, but the business stuff is my jam, you guys. Let's see. I'm in Australia. Is now in autumn the best time to plant cool flowers so they are established in spring? So if you're in a warm climate, you want to be planting your cool flowers at the tail end of your hot season. So yeah, like here, when I was in zone 9B in California, I would be planting my cool season crops at the end of fall, right? So like sweet peas, for example, they did okay if I planted them in my spring when the weather was starting to warm up after my winter, but they would do better if planted at the end of my hot season. So after the summer ended and going into fall. Of course, Lisa is the cool season queen. You guys know that. I see here in the chat, there's some questions as well. We have the question box and then the chat, right? So what do you think is the best way to get someone on your email list? Great question. So one thing is, especially when you're getting started, thinking about getting all the people you know in real life onto your email list. This means your girlfriends, right? This means your kids' parents. This means people you serve on a PTA board with. I don't know why you're all like young moms in my example here, but people you know in real life will become your first customers, and people they know will become your next customers. And then the circles will keep expanding and your reach will keep expanding, right? So first of all, you just have to get comfortable talking about your business. And I know that this is scary for a lot of people, but you don't need to have it fully formed before you start talking to people. So no matter if you're year 10 in your business and you're just realizing you want to get an email list going, or you're year 1 in your business, the methods can be the same, right? So the first way is just to, as you're talking to people, get them on your email list, or specifically reach out to get them on your email list. You can send personal emails to people you know. Sure, you can send one like broadcast email from your personal account to all your friends, inviting them to join your farm email list. Or each week, this is sometimes what I recommend instead, each week you can aim to reach out to like 5 friends of yours, 5 people you know in the community. It could be a simple email. Hey, Sarah, we haven't talked in a while. I don't know if I mentioned to you that I have been flower farming, and I would love to get the word out. And as you know, these days, email is so important. Here's the link to join my email list. I would love to have you. By the way, do you have any friends who you think would buy local flowers or might be interested in my flowers? I'd be so grateful if you could share this link with them, right? So that's one way. Another way is, again, on social media. Once a week on social media, share a story that says, this week's newsletter is going out with some funny stuff that happened on the farm this week. To make sure you get it, join my newsletter at the link below, right? So social media, in real life, and then anywhere you are in person. If you sell at a farmer's market, you can have a QR code to join the email list. You can incentivize it, like I said. It can be half off your next bouquet. It can be an extra posy with your next bouquet. It can be entry into your farm club, which means that they then get invited to on-farm events, right? In general, you want to be giving people something in exchange for joining your email list, if they're strangers or like a cold audience. What other questions do we have here? Of course, there are whole like courses about how to get people on your email list, but it's just little effort over and over all the time is a great way to get started. Someone's asking how often to water tulips. Might as well answer that. In general, tulips need a lot more water than you think. So people who are growing in crates, in controlled environments, and in hoop houses, you're watering them like every day when they're actively growing. If they're outside and it's been a really dry winter or dry spring, you're going to be needing to keep that bed pretty consistently moist. Let me go back to the question box here. Someone's asking about insurance. I, in general, try to shy away from questions about things like insurance and zoning because it's just so different in every location. Like someone in one town in Indiana will have a completely different set of circumstances than someone else in rural California, right? But anyways, in terms of insurance, yes, I do recommend getting insurance for a farm stand. Different ways to go about this. I used to have some farms share that also it's easier. Sometimes it's easier to have insurance for like the florist side of your business, and then that can cover some of these liabilities. I get out of my depth here, and I'm not a lawyer or a legal professional or an insurance professional, but I've done it in different ways, right? I used to have an off-site farm stand where I used I believe it was like the Florist side of my business insurance. And anytime I did an event at a venue and that venue needed my insurance, you get like a rider for that venue. And I think it's called that they become the additional insured, right? So it can be for a one-time event or for forever, right? So I used to do that, and I also used to lease a bunch of different fields. So I had the landowners, my landlords, as additional insured, and that's in essence what I did for the farm stand. Farm stands, you guys, can become such a bigger deal for your business than I think you would expect. I frequently share that I started my farm stand just selling like $15 bouquets, making $100 here, $100 there. And after like 4 years of really pushing and really working at it to develop a customer base, I was bringing in $125,000 through my farm stand every year. I teach how to do this in my farm stand course. I love farm stands, and I think they have such great potential to grow into money makers, and not just money makers, but a great easy way to sell your flowers, where you don't have to be present all the time. You don't have to talk to people if you don't want to. You don't have to leave the farm. And some people are blessed with better locations for farm stand than others, but even pretty remote locations, with time, with concerted effort every week, you can get a bigger and bigger customer base and send people to the stand. And because of that, I really encourage new farmers to think big when it comes to the farm stand. It doesn't need to be huge in space, but I want you to imagine that you're going to have 10, 15, 20 people stopping by every day. So think about that, and really think about, I was going to say health and safety, not health. Think about the safety of the people coming to the farm stand. Mine used to be on a really busy road. It made me really nervous. So I made sure we used signs to really indicate how people were supposed to turn off the road, where they were supposed to park, how they were supposed to like interact at the farm stand. So in this way, like, you should be thinking bigger about the sales potential of your farm stand. But with that comes heightened liability, right? It becomes a more dangerous situation once you imagine that there's going to be more cars pulling in and out of this farm stand. So they say the person you want to be like the most honest with in this life is your insurance agent, right? I might have made that up, but there's some saying like that. Like, you want to connect with an insurance agent and tell them exactly what's going to be happening at this farm stand. And you're like, I don't know how big this is going to be, but eventually I hope that there are 20 cars, 30 cars, 50 cars every day coming in and out of this farm stand. What do I need to be covered? What kind of liability insurance do I need? Again, it's different in different locations, what you might need if you're even allowed to have a farm stand. This about wraps up our half hour, you guys. And yeah, I was just seeing if there's a last question. I hope this has been helpful for you. I love chatting with you guys. Love the Gardener's Workshop. Lisa recently sent me a tea towel with pugs on it because she knows my dog Steve is like the light of my life all of a sudden. And so now we have Lisa's tea towel hanging in our kitchen to remind us of Lisa and Steve. All right, hope this has been fun for you guys. It's been fun for me. And hang in there with Easter and with Mother's Day, and I hope you're all having a great season on your farms. I'm over at Flower Farming for Profit. Come on and follow me, and I'll see you all soon. All right, bye.